Let me tell you something nobody wants to admit. Right now, as you're watching this, someone in your life is taking advantage of you. Maybe it's your boss who keeps piling extra work on your desk. Maybe it's that friend who only calls when they need something. Or maybe it's family members who treat your time like it's worthless. And you know what the worst part is? They're doing it because you let them. I'm not saying that to be harsh. I'm saying it because I've been there. I've been the person who said yes when I wanted to say no. The person who smiled while being disrespected. The person who gave and gave until there was nothing left. But here's what changed everything for me. The day I became relentless. Not aggressive, not mean. Relentless. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how becoming relentless will transform every relationship in your life, protect your peace, and finally get you the respect you deserve. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you changed my entire life. Why people take advantage of you. Let's start with a truth that's going to sting a little. People don't take advantage of you because they're bad people. They take advantage of you because you've taught them they can. Think about it. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you're training people. Every time you accept disrespect without consequences, you're setting a standard. Every time you prioritize someone else's comfort over your own boundaries, you're sending a message that says, "My needs don't matter." I learned this the hard way. For years, I was the go-to person. Need help moving? Call me. Need money? I got you. Need someone to cover your shift? I'm there. And you know what happened? I became exhausted, broke, and resentful. But here's the kicker. I couldn't even be mad at anyone else because I was the one who kept saying yes. The psychology behind being a people pleaser. There's actual science behind why some of us become targets. It usually starts in childhood. Maybe you were praised for being the good kid who never caused problems. Maybe you learned that love was conditional. You only got attention when you were useful. Maybe conflict in your home was so scary that you learned to keep the peace at any cost. As adults, this becomes a pattern. We equate our worth with our usefulness. We believe that if we stop giving, people will stop loving us. We're terrified of conflict, so we avoid it by accommodating everyone else. But here's what nobody tells you. This isn't kindness, it's fear. Real kindness comes from a place of strength and choice, not from a desperate need to be accepted. The cost of being too accommodating. Let me paint you a picture of what this costs you. First, there's your time. The most non-renewable resource you have is being spent on people who wouldn't do the same for you. You're working late to cover for a coworker while missing your kid's soccer game. You're listening to your friend complain for 2 hours about the same problem they refuse to fix, time you could have spent on your own goals. Then there's your energy. Emotional labor is real labor. When you're constantly managing other people's feelings, solving their problems, and suppressing your own needs, you're running on empty. You wake up exhausted. You feel resentful. You start to lose yourself. And here's the biggest cost, your self-respect. Every time you betray yourself by ignoring your own boundaries, you lose a little bit of respect for yourself. That voice in your head gets louder, the one that says you're weak, that you're a doormat, that you'll never change. And the more you listen to that voice, the harder it becomes to stand up for yourself. The tipping point. But there comes a moment, maybe you've already had it, maybe it's coming soon. It's the moment when you realize that being nice hasn't protected you from pain, it's caused it. It's when you understand that the people who truly love you don't want a doormat, they want an equal. It's when you understand that the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of change. For me, that moment came when I was sitting alone on my birthday because I'd helped everyone else with their plans that week, but nobody thought to check on me. I realized I had trained people so well to take from me that they never thought about giving back. And that's when I decided, no more. Redefining relentless. When I say become relentless, I'm not talking about becoming cold, cruel, or selfish. I'm talking about becoming relentlessly committed to your own well-being, your own boundaries, and your own values. Relentless means you stop negotiating with people who don't respect you. It means you become unmovable on what matters to you. It means you're willing to be uncomfortable, to disappoint people, to be called selfish, all in service of protecting your peace. Think of it this way. If someone tried to steal money from your wallet, you'd stop them immediately, right? You wouldn't feel bad about it. You wouldn't worry about hurting their feelings. Being relentless means you treat your time, energy, and emotional well-being with that same protectiveness. The shift in mindset. Becoming relentless requires a fundamental shift in how you see yourself and your relationships. Here's what needs to change. First, you need to understand that boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. You're not shutting people out, you're deciding who gets access and under what conditions. Good people will respect your gates. People who are using you will complain about them. Second, you need to accept that you cannot control how people react to your boundaries. Some people will be upset, some will try to guilt you, some will walk away. And that's okay. In fact, it's perfect, because the people who leave when you start respecting yourself were only there for what they could take. Third, you need to recognize that saying no to others is saying yes to yourself. Every no creates space. Space for rest, for your own goals, for relationships that actually nourish you. You're not being selfish, you're being self-preserving. Fourth, you need to believe that you deserve respect without having to earn it through servitude. You are worthy of respect simply because you're a human being with your own dreams, needs, and limitations. You don't need to prove your worth by being useful to everyone. The Relentless Boundaries Framework. Now, let me give you the practical framework I use. I call it the 3 C's of relentless boundaries: clarity, consistency, and consequences. Clarity means you get crystal clear on what you will and won't accept. Not vague statements like, "I need more respect," but specific boundaries like, "I don't answer emails after 7 p.m." or "I don't lend money to people who haven't paid me back." You need to know your non-negotiables. What are the behaviors you will not tolerate under any circumstances? What are the values you're not willing to compromise? Write them down. Make them real. Consistency means you enforce your boundaries every single time, not just when it's convenient. This is where most people fail. They set a boundary, someone tests it, and they cave because it's uncomfortable to hold the line. But here's the truth. If you enforce a boundary 95% of the time, you don't have a boundary. You have a suggestion. People learn that if they push hard enough, long enough, you'll fold. Consistency is what transforms boundaries from wishful thinking into actual protection. Consequences means there are real outcomes when someone violates your boundaries. Not punishment, consequences. If someone repeatedly disrespects your time, the consequence is you stop making yourself available. If someone only contacts you when they need something, the consequence is you stop responding immediately. If someone refuses to respect your no, the consequence is distance. You don't have to announce these consequences dramatically, you just implement them calmly and consistently. Your actions speak louder than any explanation. The language of relentless. Let me give you some phrases that changed my life. These are scripts you can use when people test your boundaries. Instead of "I'm sorry, but I can't," try "That doesn't work for me." Instead of "I'll try to make it work," try "No, I'm not available for that." Instead of explaining and justifying, try "I've made my decision on this." Instead of "I'm too busy," try "I'm prioritizing other things right now." Notice something about these phrases? They're complete sentences. You don't owe anyone a lengthy explanation for your boundaries. No is a complete sentence. That doesn't work for me is enough. The need to over-explain comes from guilt and the fear that people will be upset. But here's the reality. People who respect you will accept your no without an interrogation. People who don't respect you won't be satisfied with any explanation you give. Dealing with pushback. When you start setting boundaries, people will push back. They'll say, "You've changed." They'll call you selfish. They'll try to guilt you. Some will even get angry. This is actually a good sign. It means your boundaries are working. The people who benefited from your lack of boundaries will naturally resist when you start protecting yourself. Here's how to handle it. Don't argue, don't defend, don't justify. Simply restate your boundary and let the discomfort sit with the other person, not with you. If someone says, "You've changed," you can say, "You're right, I'm prioritizing my well-being now." If someone calls you selfish, you can say, "I understand you see it that way," and then do nothing to change their mind. If someone tries to guilt you, you can say, "I hear that you're disappointed, and my decision stands." The key is to be a broken record. State your boundary, stay calm, and refuse to engage in circular arguments designed to wear you down. The discomfort is temporary. I'm not going to lie to you, becoming relentless is uncomfortable at first. You'll feel guilty, you'll second-guess yourself, you'll wonder if you're being too harsh. There will be nights when you lie awake thinking, maybe I should have just said yes. But here's what happens over time. The discomfort of setting boundaries becomes less painful than the resentment of not having them. The temporary guilt of disappointing someone else becomes easier to bear than the permanent damage of disappointing yourself. And something magical happens. You start to feel lighter. You start to have energy again. You start to respect yourself. And the people who remain in your life, they're the ones who actually value you, not just what you can do for them. What happens when you become relentless? Let me tell you what your life looks like when you become relentless with your boundaries. First, you get your time back. Suddenly, you have hours in your day you didn't have before, because you're not spending 3 hours helping someone who could have Googled the answer, because you're not attending events you don't want to attend out of obligation, because you're not fixing problems that aren't yours to fix. And what do you do with that time? Whatever you want. Maybe you finally start that business. Maybe you reconnect with hobbies you abandoned. Maybe you just rest, because rest is productive. The point is, it's yours. Second, your relationships improve. I know this sounds counterintuitive, but hear me out. When you have boundaries, your relationships become more authentic. You're no longer pretending, people-pleasing, or building resentment. The people who stick around are people who actually respect you. And here's something beautiful. When you stop tolerating disrespect, you make room for respect. New people enter your life who are used to mutual, healthy relationships. They're not confused by your boundaries. They appreciate them. Third, your self-respect skyrockets. Every time you honor a boundary, you're telling yourself, I matter, my needs matter, I'm worth protecting. Over time, this rebuilds the self-esteem that years of people-pleasing destroyed. You start to walk differently, talk differently. You make eye contact. You speak up in meetings. You stop apologizing for taking up space. Because you finally believe, deep in your bones, that you deserve to be here. Fourth, you become more successful. When you stop wasting energy on people and situations that drain you, you have energy for your goals. You're more focused, more productive, more creative. You're not running on fumes, you're running on purpose. Plus, people respect competence and boundaries. When you become someone who doesn't just agree to everything, your yes becomes valuable. When you become someone who delivers on what you commit to because you're not overcommitted, people trust you more. The people who will leave. I need to be honest with you about this part. When you become relentless, some people will leave, and it's going to hurt. That friend who only called when they needed something, they'll probably disappear. That family member who expected you to drop everything for them, they might get angry and distant. That coworker who relied on you to do their work, they'll likely turn cold. Let them go. I know that's hard to hear, especially if you've known these people for years, especially if they're family. But here's the truth. People who leave when you start respecting yourself were never there for you. They were there for what you could provide. Real relationships can handle boundaries. Real love doesn't require you to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Real friends want you to have needs, wants, and limits because they see you as a whole person, not a resource. The people who leave are making room for the people who will stay. Trust the process. How your energy changes. One of the most profound changes you'll notice is your energy. For years, you've been operating in a deficit, giving more than you receive, people-pleasing your way through life. That takes a toll. When you become relentless, your energy shifts. You're no longer constantly anxious about disappointing people. You're not walking on eggshells. You're not suppressing your own needs until they explode in resentment or exhaustion. Instead, you feel grounded, centered, calm, because you're finally living in alignment with your values. You're finally being honest with yourself and others. And there's an incredible peace that comes with that. People will notice this energy shift. Some will be attracted to it, others will be threatened by it. Both reactions tell you something important about those people. The ripple effect. Here's something nobody tells you about becoming relentless. It gives other people permission to do the same. When you set boundaries, you show the people in your life that it's possible. That friend who's also been people-pleasing for years, they'll see you doing it and think, maybe I can too. Your kids? They'll learn from watching you that their needs matter too, that they don't have to sacrifice themselves to be loved. You become a model for what healthy relationships look like. You show people that kindness and boundaries can coexist, that being generous doesn't mean being a doormat, that you can care about people without losing yourself. This is how you change not just your life, but the lives of everyone around you. Maintaining your relentlessness. Becoming relentless isn't a one-time decision, it's a daily practice. There will be days when you want to slip back into old patterns, days when saying no feels impossible, days when you doubt yourself. Here's what helps. Keep a record of how good it feels when you honor your boundaries. Write down the moments when you said no and the world didn't end. Notice the space and peace you've created. Remember the people who respect you more now. And surround yourself with people who support your growth. Find friends who celebrate your boundaries, not challenge them. Join communities where healthy relationships are the norm. Read books, listen to podcasts, watch videos like this that remind you why this matters. Being relentless requires relentlessness. You have to be just as committed to maintaining your boundaries as others were committed to violating them. Practical steps to becoming relentless. Step 1. Audit your life. The first step is awareness. You need to identify where you're being taken advantage of right now. Get a notebook and answer these questions honestly. Who in my life consistently takes more than they give? Write their names. What situations make me feel resentful or depleted? List them. When do I say yes when I want to say no? Identify the patterns. What am I tolerating that I know I shouldn't? Be specific. This audit might be painful. You might realize that half the people in your life are takers. You might see that you've been ignoring red flags for years. But awareness is the first step to change. You can't fix what you won't acknowledge. Step 2. Define your non-negotiables. Based on your audit, create your list of non-negotiables. These are the boundaries you will not compromise on, regardless of who asks or how uncomfortable it gets. Examples might include, I don't answer work communications after 7 p.m. or on weekends. I don't lend money to people who haven't repaid previous loans. I don't engage in conversations where I'm being disrespected. I don't change my plans last minute for people who wouldn't do the same for me. I don't maintain relationships where all the effort comes from my side. Make your list specific and personal. These boundaries should reflect your values and what you need to feel respected and at peace. Step 3. Start small. Don't try to transform every relationship overnight. Start with low-stakes situations to build your boundary-setting muscle. Maybe you start by not responding to texts immediately, or saying no to that extra project at work, or telling your friend you can only talk for 30 minutes instead of 3 hours. Each small boundary you set is practice. You're learning what it feels like to prioritize yourself. You're discovering that people don't actually hate you when you say no. You're building evidence that you can handle the discomfort. As you get more comfortable, you can tackle bigger boundaries with more important people. Step 4. Prepare for resistance. Before you set a major boundary, prepare how you'll handle pushback. Literally script it out. If you know your mom is going to guilt trip you, decide in advance how you'll respond. If you know your boss is going to push back on your work-life boundary, have your talking points ready. If you know your friend is going to call you selfish, decide you're okay with that label. Preparation reduces the chance that you'll cave in the moment. When you've already decided how you'll handle resistance, you're not scrambling to respond. You're executing a plan. Step 5. Communicate clearly. When you set a boundary, be direct and clear. Don't hint. Don't apologize excessively. Don't over-explain. Use this formula. Going forward, boundary, I appreciate your understanding. For example, going forward, I'm not available to cover shifts on my days off. I appreciate your understanding. Going forward, I need at least a week's notice for requests for my time. I appreciate your understanding. Going forward, I won't be able to help with this type of project. I appreciate your understanding. Notice there's no apology, no justification, no invitation to negotiate, just a clear statement of what's changing. Step 6. Follow through. This is the most critical step. When someone tests your boundary, and they will, you must enforce the consequence you established. If you said you don't answer work emails after 7 p.m. and someone emails you at 8 p.m., don't answer until the next business day. If you told your friend you need a week's notice and they ask for a favor tomorrow, the answer is no. Every time you enforce a boundary, you're teaching people you mean what you say. Every time you cave, you're teaching them your boundaries are negotiable. Follow-through is everything. Step 7. Process the guilt. You're going to feel guilty. That's normal, especially if you've been a people pleaser your whole life. Your brain has been wired to equate boundaries with selfishness. When guilt comes up, don't try to suppress it. Acknowledge it. I feel guilty right now. Then ask yourself, is this guilt based on reality or is it based on old programming that says my needs don't matter? Usually it's the latter. The guilt is just your old pattern trying to pull you back. Feel it, acknowledge it, and do the right thing anyway. Over time, the guilt fades as new neural pathways form around self-respect. Step 8. Find your people. Surround yourself with people who are also committed to healthy boundaries. This might mean joining a community, finding a therapist, or simply being more intentional about who you spend time with. When you're around people who respect themselves and others, being relentless becomes easier. You're not the odd one out, you're the norm. You have models to learn from and support when things get hard. Step 9. Celebrate your wins. Every time you honor a boundary, celebrate it, even if it's just a mental high five or a note in your journal. Today, I said no to an unreasonable request and the world didn't end. Celebrating your wins reinforces the new behavior. Your brain starts to associate boundary setting with positive feelings rather than just anxiety and guilt. Over time, it becomes natural. Step 10. Commit for the long haul. Understand that becoming relentless is not a destination, it's a way of life. You'll be practicing these skills for the rest of your life because new situations and new people will always test your boundaries. But here's the good news. It gets easier. The first boundary is the hardest. The 10th is easier. The 100th is automatic. You're not just changing your behavior, you're changing who you are. Commit to being relentlessly protective of your peace, your time, and your well-being. Not sometimes, not when it's convenient, always. The truth about becoming relentless. Here's what I need you to understand. Becoming relentless isn't about hardening your heart, it's about protecting it. It's not about closing yourself off to people, it's about opening yourself up to the right people. When you're relentless with your boundaries, you're not being mean, you're being honest. You're not being selfish, you're being sustainable. You're not pushing people away, you're inviting them to meet you as an equal rather than using you as a resource. The people who truly love you will not only accept your boundaries, they'll celebrate them. They'll be relieved that you're finally taking care of yourself. They'll respect you more, not less, because healthy people want healthy relationships, and healthy relationships require boundaries. Your life on the other side. Imagine your life 6 months from now, after you've been relentless with your boundaries. You wake up without dread because you're not doing things out of obligation. Your calendar reflects your priorities, not everyone else's. Your phone doesn't make you anxious because you've trained people that you're not always available. The people in your life respect you. They value your time because you've shown them it's valuable. They appreciate your help when you give it because they know you're giving from choice, not coercion. You have energy for your own goals. That project you've been putting off, you're making progress. That dream you've been too tired to pursue, you're going after it. That rest you desperately needed, you're finally getting it. You like yourself again. When you look in the mirror, you see someone who stands up for themselves, someone who knows their worth, someone who doesn't need to prove their value by being useful to everyone. This is what's waiting for you on the other side of becoming relentless. The choice is yours. Right now, you have a choice. You can close this video and go back to the way things were, keep saying yes when you mean no, keep tolerating disrespect, keep giving until you're empty, keep waiting for people to suddenly start respecting boundaries you've never set. Or you can decide that today is the day everything changes. Today is the day you become relentless. Not tomorrow, not when the timing is better, not when people will understand. Today. Because here's the truth. People will take advantage of you until you become relentless. That's not going to change on its own. You have to change it. You have to be the one who says no more. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. Yes, some people will be upset. Yes, you'll doubt yourself. But on the other side of that discomfort is a life where you finally matter in your own story, where your needs are just as important as everyone else's, where you're living for yourself, not everyone else. Your first step. So, here's what I want you to do right now. Think of one boundary you need to set, just one. Maybe it's with your boss, your parent, a friend, or even yourself. What's the one thing you keep tolerating that you know you shouldn't? What's the one situation where you always say yes, but wish you could say no? That's your starting point. Not 10 boundaries, not a complete life overhaul, just one boundary. And in the next 24 hours, I want you to set it clearly, firmly, without apology. See what happens. Notice that the world doesn't end. Notice that you can handle the discomfort. Notice the small sense of relief and power that comes from finally standing up for yourself. Then do it again, and again, and again, until being relentless becomes who you are, not just something you do. Final words. People will take advantage of you until you become relentless. But here's the beautiful part. Once you become relentless, you don't just protect yourself from being taken advantage of, you create a life that's authentically yours. Relationships that actually nourish you, time for what truly matters, energy for your dreams, and self-respect that nobody can take away. The version of you that sets boundaries, honors your needs, and refuses to shrink for anyone's comfort is already inside you. You've just been suppressing it because you were taught that being accommodating was more important than being authentic. But that version of you is ready to emerge. All you have to do is make the decision to let it. Become relentless. Protect your peace, honor your boundaries, and watch how your entire life transforms. If this message resonated with you, do me a favor. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below with the first boundary you're going to set. And remember, you deserve to take up space. You deserve respect. You deserve to matter in your own life. Thank you for being here. Now go become relentless.